Thanks, Will, and welcome to Epic Games Business Director for Unreal Engine Broadcast and Live Events, BK Johannessen. Welcome, BK. Thanks for joining us.
Hi, George. Thank you for having me.
So over the next 15 minutes or so, we're going to run through the latest with Unreal Engine and hear BK's thoughts on the likely evolution of sports graphics. But first, we have a short clip that will help to set the scene. So that video is a great way to get things started, and it really helped to show the breadth of use cases of Unreal Engine. One of the sports in that clip was NFL, and of course it was the Super Bowl earlier this month, which is one of the biggest sports broadcasts in the world. Really helps to provide an indicator of innovation in lots of areas, including graphics. So for those who might not have seen, can you tell us a little about what Fox Sports did with its AR and XR studio?
Well, it's fascinating to see how the Super Bowl has turned into really this incubator of new technology. It really is fascinating to see how different companies, vendors come together with a super large event like the Super Bowl is, and really innovate and push the boundaries. I think what we really saw happening this year was how Fox Sports was able to work with their partners to push kind of AR, augmented reality within the stadium to the next level. It's complicated. There's a lot of moving bits and pieces, and it's been always a little bit of a barrier to use AR because of complexity around tracking and timing and all that. It's super fascinating now to see how stable and robust it has become, to the extent that they can run these huge sky cams and really use the stadium as a surface to tell stories, and also put graphics onto the ground to do analysis and really bring that kind of excitement and action back to the audience. And I think that's reflected also in the numbers that we see. I mean, they hands down a super production with record breaking, at least for 6 years, audience. So I think for us it's really about making that possible for many more. So it's not only the Super Bowl that is able to leverage these technologies.
And you mentioned robustness just now as well, and I guess that's for an event like the Super Bowl, where for that moment in time you've got the eyes of the world on that one particular event. I guess that's a really important part of what's being provided.
Certainly, it very much so is, and all broadcast is of course important, but of course when you have 116 million eyeballs on you, you tend to take that quite seriously. So again, I'm really impressed that it has become such an innovation event. Where they are in a way taking risk, but calculated, of course. But still, they do push every year. They push the boundaries every year. There's new tech, which is built out for this event to really kind of push the capabilities of storytelling in live sports.
And just sticking with Fox for a moment, at the end of last year, they launched a virtual production studio, and I think it was described as having groundbreaking multicam capabilities. Can you tell us a little bit more about what they built and why it was considered to be groundbreaking?
Right. Yeah, well, to me, it's kind of a broadcast engineering marvel. It really is astonishing what they did. It's it's inspired a lot, I think, from what has been happening the last 4 or 5 years on the film side, where they've used quote unquote virtual production. They've used a lot of green environments, and they of course have done a lot of VFX in post. But the introduction of a more kind of LED based volume has, introduced a level of realism that they weren't able to achieve before. And that essentially, I think, inspired Fox to say, can we bring that same level of quality and realism into our studios and make our studios much, much more versatile? And that's the mission they set out to do. It's a LED volume, which means it produces real light. The real light gives you real shadows. It gives you real reflection. You don't have to fake it. It's also a huge volume, right? So there's a lot of pixels that needs to be filled in that on those screens. And as you're moving that camera, you're affecting the pictures that are on the wall. So you have this kind of parallax effect that gives you this truly kind of three-dimensional feeling to that environment, which means they can essentially have full flexibility in terms of where they want to put their anchors. If they want to put them into a stadium, that's one thing. If they want to put them into a huge grass field, they can do that. So they have absolute kind of creative freedom in terms of what stories they want to tell. And what kind of pushed it even further, and maybe a bit further than what they have needed on more the film side, is for broadcast, they needed several cameras. They needed to be able to produce with multiple cameras. And that's when this kind of technology of ghost frame came along, which essentially means you render, one image per camera, so that you can have that camera's viewport, and you're essentially projecting all of those. In the case of Fox, there's 4 in parallel that are being projected on the wall. So the wall is actually rendering, or showing, 4 times as much information as what the camera is seeing. And then they're kind of processing that afterwards so that each camera gets their unique view. And that has never been done before. That was truly amazing to see that actually works, and it's stable. They're using it every week, and they're now at the point where they can unleash that creativity.
And you spoke about the sort of creative possibilities there, and the ability to effectively kind of create what you like and display what you like. Does it require a very different way of working for the directors and for those creative and production teams? Because I guess if the opportunities are effectively kind of limitless, then
Yeah.
how do they approach that?
Well, I think one of the amazing things about that type of environment is, unlike a virtual green screen environment, you kind of have to envision. Either you have to look at it from behind the camera, or really behind where the graphics is added, and the talent will basically have to be in the green. It really is hard to collaborate. You can't really bring all the different people, all the stakeholders together and actually see what's going on. And in this type of virtual production volume, you can. It's real. It's right there. You can see it. You can't touch it, but you can actually work on it together with kind of all the stakeholders. You can have your directors, you can have your creatives, you can have your talent, and they're all kind of exposed to the exact same thing. So I do think that opens up a lot of opportunities to collaborate way more efficiently, rather than to kind of work in silos and then learn a lot from trial and error, and was this what he meant, and figure it out. Rather, you just get together in the real environment, and you can even do this, you don't have to step into the volume. You could use a collaborative environment on multiple screens and see the same thing. So I think it becomes just so much more powerful when it is real time, and it's in a medium that caters naturally to being shared.
Okay. I wondered now if you could just tell us a little bit about Project Avalanche, which I think it's fair to say is unlike anything else that we've typically seen Unreal used for in the past. So nothing to do with
Right.
virtual or AR or tracking. Can you just give us a bit of an overview of what that project is and who's involved in it at the moment?
Sure. We've been kind of flying a little bit under the radar, but maybe not super successfully. So there's a lot of people that knows about it already. But in the case they don't, Project Avalanche, it's a code name. So we'll probably come up with a proper name eventually. But essentially, it is a dedicated toolkit for broadcast graphics and motion design. And it's built kind of on top of Unreal Engine. So what it will offer is kind of the robust 3D and animation feature that comes with the engine, but it will add a layer of 2D design tools to create these more hybrid workflows, which I will believe will be very familiar to a lot of existing designers that are using traditional tools. So the ambition is, of course, we want to enable these users to create on-air graphics, whether they are 2D visuals, lower thirds, full frames, but also the more high-end 3D design, often seen in various bumpers and advertising visuals, and we all want that to be real time. So we've been working on that quite actively. It's still under very active development. So we're not quite ready to release this to the masses just yet. But we did do, as at least you at SVG know, we did do a POC project together with our partner ESPN for the Rose Bowl parade at the start of the year. And that gave us a lot of confidence that we were onto something good. We could see how that power of the Unreal Engine combined with a lot of more kind of user-friendly design tools was gonna enable designers to really kind of take the 2D and motion graphic design to the next level. But we also learned a lot from that project. A lot of things that we needed to improve and we needed to add. So although we are diligently moving forward and it's going, if you ask me, quite rapidly, we do need a bit more time until we really kind of open it up to a bigger audience. So we are planning to run a more closed beta over the next coming months, and there's a lot of people that expressed an interest to be a part of that. And then we are aiming for this one to really be launched publicly, maybe at the second half of the year.
Okay, and have you got those projects for further testing already lined up? Can you give us a bit of a clue as to perhaps what kind of sports they might be involved in, or what sort of events they might be?
There are some projects that are running, and they might be related to motorsports. Maybe can't go into too much detail. It's a lot of uncertainty. So we really work with partners that are willing to push push the boundaries and take some risk and be part of an early start of a journey. We believe this is a long-term investment for us. We really believe that this can enable Unreal to be relevant for a very, very large area of use cases that we realistically haven't been relevant for in the past. I think this will be a huge benefit for the broadcast industry and the sports in general, but I think it goes beyond that. I think it will enable a much larger talent pool to be developed that will benefit also the virtual side and using it more in augmented reality when we have more creatives that are actually able to contribute.
Great, thank you. So I just wanted to ask you now to kind of get your crystal ball out, really, and give us a bit of a sense of what's next for Unreal Engine. I mean, you've spoken about Project Avalanche, but I wondered if you could also just give us an idea of how Unreal Engine more generally is likely to be developed over the coming months and years.
Well, I think it's fair to say that we are continuing essentially to improve upon what the Unreal Engine really is and where it really shines. It is a game engine, which means by nature it's interactive. We focused a lot on, let's say, the high-end visuals. So we want to push even further on being able to produce even more high quality and photorealistic renderings. But I think it's really important to kind of state that although we're probably most known, at least in the sports broadcast world, we're most known for the Unreal Engine. But one of the major challenges today is not necessarily whether it's possible or whether the engine is capable of reaching a certain quality level. It's more of a question of what does it take? And that's where we have probably the most to gain, and that we'll see the most, improvements in the future. Is we need to make it easier, faster, to create higher quality content. So a lot of effort goes on our side, and we've seen kind of some movement on that already as part of Unreal Engine 5, where we integrated essentially our marketplaces into the engine itself, just to lower the bar threshold, to make it easier for creatives to say, well, if I wanted to switch it to a different type of material, rather than going and building a new material, you go and find one. There's 18,000 of them inside the marketplace. They're all super high resolution. They're all super detailed. You can just swap it out with a drag drop. And I think that's one example of how kind of the ecosystem around the Unreal Engine becomes more and more important. I touched already on collaboration, another area super important for us, and a super strong kind of capability of the Unreal Engine. I mean, you can think of, the games are collaborative. The Fortnite has 70 million people playing the same game at the same time in the same environment. It's collaborative by nature. Can we extend that to other industries like sports broadcast? Can we actually have designers who, unfortunately, if you ask me, we've seen a massive amount of efficiency gains when it comes to the production workflows in sports and in broadcast in general. But graphics and creative have still been operating a little bit in silos, in a way kind of captured by the tools they have, and a lot of those not being real time. I think that's really where we're going to double down in the future, is really how do we make it more efficient? How do we make it better? Also from a user experience point of view, to reach much, much higher quality levels and really, increase the production value and the storytelling capabilities.
Fantastic. BK, thank you so much for that. Some really interesting insights. And we look forward to seeing, in particular, how Project Avalanche evolves over the coming months and for the rest of this year. BK, thanks very much. And Will, back to you.